Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Week 4 preview. We are 3 weeks in to the Optimal Championship League, and I am JarlCarl alongside Llama, breaking down what has gone down in the first 3 weeks of the season. Good to have you back with us in your normal setup, sir.
Yep, no more vacation, no more robot, and no more beach, sadly, for me. But we're getting ready. We're good to go. Had some spicy matchups this week, and the storylines keep on improving.
We've already had one team eliminated from Poro. We'll jump there first. That was Baron Buddies. Double elimination tournament does not leave a ton of time to improve. You take a first couple of losses and you can find yourself out of the tournament. So Baron Buddies are already out of this one. SG Syndicate looking incredibly strong. In my mind, the clear favorite to win this little tournament, this league, whatever you want to call it. They look incredibly good. Definitely the strongest team thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I was on that game. Unfortunate to say goodbye to Baron Buddies. They still had a decent performance, I'd like to say. But yeah, SG Syndicate, they have now won 2 games, 2-0, and I think they're probably the favorite to do so. But in other news, hashtag Lime Gang is trending in the Discord. It is #1 on the overall tags. I don't know, I guess people were revolting over lemons. They are all for the limes now.
Gotta go for the limes. The battle of the fruits. Gotta work the hashtags into the news section of the podcast. In my mind, gotta stay fresh, like your citrus. Sure, I don't know. I said words.
That was really good.
Okay, good. I'm glad you liked it. Hopefully, Robin likes it too. All right. Moving on into the is it the premier? It's the Premier Division, right? Does it have
Yes.
It doesn't have a name, does it?
It's the Premier Division.
Okay. I thought I was like, the other one's Poro. I was halfway through my sentence and I had like this giant moment of anxiety. I was like, wait, is this correct? All right. Moving on to the Premier Division with our power rankings. This might be getting a little bit old for everybody, but our first spot is Niner Esports. They're 6-0, the only team still undefeated, a clean 2-0 win over Banout Bunny.
They are sitting alone right now in first place, and it's like you said, for now 3 weeks in a row, they're staying the #1 team. They're staying they're keeping their matchup 2-0, and once again they proved their dominance. I guess it was kind of an expected win, and I mean we talked about Banout Bunny as a little bit lower in the power rankings, but Lemon Lover again, huge carries on Ash, another carry game on Jinx, and want to see a trick even in mid had 17 kills in 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely, looking very strong. Another potential carry, lane. Carry role that you can bring into the team, always more dangerous if you're not just a one carry team. So nice to want to see a trick picking up some kills there. Always slept on is their matchup for this upcoming week. The eye test says that should also be a pretty easy matchup for them. So Niner Esports getting off to a great start, and we're just sort of seeing already the power of winning 2-0. They're 6-0. The next team in second place is 6-2, which means Niner Esports can drop a couple of games and still potentially be the first seed going into those playoffs. So taking care of business, very important. Yeah, they pretty much just beat everybody. Not a whole lot to say.
Yeah.
All right. The pattern repeats itself in the second spot. Elysium Shield, 6-2 after a 2-1 victory over Divine Temple.
Yeah, this was the exciting series we were kind of pointing out last week, right? It was the 2-3 matchup, and it was close. They promised a good game to us, and they proved it. A 2-1 victory for Elysium Shield, though. They took some time to heat up. That's what I'm a little bit worried about for Shield is now in a couple of their series, they've dropped the first game, have had to, build back up in the second two. I mean, you'd expect it against the, another top 3 team, but after that, Vortex, once again, the highest ranked ADC, proved their prowess once again.
Yeah, they sort of got crushed in the first game. Against Divine Temple, they managed 4 kills. They lost 25-4 on the kill score. It was still a 36-minute game, so they held on for a while, but just not quite able to pick up the kills. Sort of came roaring back after that in a similarly one-sided game the second time around, and then the Breaker game a little bit closer. I think definitely delivering on that 2-3 matchup that we were heralding going into the week. They definitely proved us right on picking that as the match of the week. They play Bad Guys next week, so a little bit easier, but still some question marks around that team as well. Based. Now we get to talk about the same team again. Great. Yeah. The team they beat is in the third spot, Divine Temple, now 5-3 after that 1-2 loss against Elysium Shield, but they hold on to their ranking this week.
Yep, they get to hold on, and it's like you said, they took that first win very, very cleanly, and T1 owner, Kudzi, we've talked about this mid-jungle duo, honestly, all season long, that they've been really strong, they've performed really well, and they were playing the second overall team, so yes, you lose, but it's a really good loss to have, a really good win they took as well to, take at least 1-2 in the series, but after Wukong did get banned away in game number 1, they did struggle a little bit, so that might be a concern.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking that win, really, really important to be picking off those wins, especially if you're at the top of the table, winning at least one game against the other teams at the top of the table. That can secure you that playoff position, just getting those extra wins on the scoreline. Next week, they are playing the number 4 team, OE Nova, who is also 5-3, making a one-step jump up into the 4th position.
Yeah, OE Nova takes that 4th slot, and it's like you said, it's another really good matchup. It's another actually kind of tougher matchup for Divine Temple that they'll have to prove themselves in once again. Like you said, the tying records, one of these teams is, I mean, neither of them are going to be 5-3 after this week, but one of them is going to be, higher rated than the other, and Nova's been on the up and up, right? They've been moving up every single week now, and if they could win this matchup, they could certify themselves as a top 3 team.
Yeah, absolutely. Nova in the 4th spot now. They took a 2-1 win this week over Elysium Valor, a team that has sort of been struggling, but playing really strong teams. Some pretty close matches, but they were able to win that series, kind of boosting them up into a solid playoff position here. They're 5-3. They look pretty good.
They look pretty good. I mean, and talking about it, it was a mid lane diff. I'm not going to lie. All 3 games, by the way, it was either their mid lane or the opposing mid lane that was having a really good game that led to the victory. But, they're proving themselves once again. They're moving up and up, and they, like we said, they play Divine Temple next week. They got to prove themselves again.
Yeah, absolutely. Double-digit kills in the mid lane the first couple games, but not the same way around. So just back and forth in that position. They're playing Divine Temple next week. Overall, this is a team that just looks pretty good. They're moving up the rankings. They're picking up wins, beating Elysium Valor. We'll see at the end of the season how impressive of a win that is. But they're continuing their march to the top. They look like a very solid team overall. Looking forward to seeing how they kind of progress as they go forward, whether they can start to really challenge those teams way at the top of the table for those first, second spots. But for now, they look like a pretty solid playoff team, playing pretty well. OE Nova. That's not Robin's team, is it? Robin's on Infinity, right?
Infinity, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Which we haven't gotten to yet. Oh, we're about to get to. All right. The organizational trend continues in spot number 5. It's the other OE team. This time it is Infinity, 4-2 record now, moving up 1 spot to the 5th position.
Yeah, we love to keep these OE teams kind of right next to each other, holding hands at the 4 and 5 slot once again. OE Infinity, as a reminder, they did already take an 0-2 in the overall season, so they've now taken 2 2-0s and 1 0-2, so they're sitting 4-2. Like you said, none of those extra games in either of those categories, but a somewhat expected win, right? They take it over Always Slept On, who is. We've kind of pegged them as a bottom-of-the-table team right now, but Jungle was really their PowerPoint. OEI Red, Jarvan and Rek'Sai, 24 kills in the 2-game series.
When I first clicked on this game, I clicked on the 2 games, the post-game report, and I went, okay, Jungle diff. Straight away, very, very nice performance. Both junglers that can really push a lead, get a lead early, right? Jarvan, Rek'Sai, early ganks, really strong crowd control damage potential. If OEI Red is really able to start getting on a roll, I think this team could do likewise, because those are the kind of picks that can just completely bring your team along. If you get a couple of kills early, it's really, really hard to stop.
Yeah, it's hard to stop, and it's going to be interesting because next week they do play Dynasty Chaos, a team that has been on the up and up. If we remember, Dynasty Chaos had the bye loss, whatever you want to call it, to starting out 0-2. So I think next week, they could possibly move up even further if they take that win.
That's a thumbs up for me. All right, we're into the bottom half. So sad. Bad guys. Yeah, this is like a gilded team. I think we said this last week, so they're sort of living up to our expectations. All right. All right. The 6th position, just not quite making it into the top half, is Bad Guys, falling 2 spots last week. The 4-1 start has faded into a 4-3 scoreline after a 0-2 loss against Dynasty Chaos.
Yeah, I think the 6 and 7 are going to be the most interesting talking points for us on this week. Because for me, the alarm bells are going off, right? Everything, the fires are burning, the house is on fire. Because you lose 0-2 against Dynasty Chaos Emerald. Yes, it's a team that did start, with that bye, that did start a little bit off, but you're talking about they took their 2 wins are against the bottom 2 teams right now. So yes, they started 4-1, but they dropped a game to the 9th team. So I don't know if this loss really proved their spot, and if they lose again next week, they might be just like plummeting downwards.
They may absolutely be falling a bit further. Like you said, they beat number 9, they beat number 10, and they've lost to number 8. So they haven't really played anybody very high in the standings. Next week they play Elysium Shield. We put it in the notes, they might be in for a rude awakening. They certainly might be. They are playing against a much stronger team, at least according to these rankings, than they have thus far. The 4-1 start, they did drop a game to Always Slept On in that. Now they've dropped 2 games to Dynasty Chaos Emerald. They weren't able to pick up even 1 in that series. So I totally agree. The alarm bells going off in a big way for this team. They are still 4-3, so they get a little bit of credit for that, but I think that's a scoreline that maybe is even unlikely to hold going forward.
They got to pick up wins. That's the most important thing, is even in those top matchups, you got to pick up wins, got to continue to try and hold that scoreline where it is. And they did have at least a couple of good things to look forward to. I mean, in their second game they played, they actually had more kills overall, but couldn't take the win.
Were not able to take the win. Position number 7. I think this one is the most controversial, in my opinion. We have in position number 7 a 1-6 team. It's Elysium Valor. Llama, defend your choice.
Okay, every week we have to do this, man, because they have played 3 really tough matchups in a row. Yes, they're going to take a 1-2 loss to OE Nova, who is currently sitting at 4th in our power ranking. So, by the way, Elysium Valor has played number 1, number 2, and number 4. Like, how are we supposed to rank them, like, any lower when they played the toughest teams?
Absolutely. The scoreline, obviously, it is not great, right? They're 1-6. Right. There are teams with a better record below them, but they've played extremely good teams. They're almost the reverse of bad guys, right? They've played the top of the table. I think there's a very strong argument to be made that this team is, a bottom playoff team, maybe a little bit lower, maybe position number 7, somewhere around there. They've only taken 1 game in 3 series against the top of the table, so indicating that they're probably not, a real contender for the championship at this point. Need to get a little bit stronger if they want to do that, but they're able to take a game off OE Nova. We just don't have a lot of information, right? So they have an easier matchup this week against Ban Out Bunny. Excited to see how they do. If this is a match they don't take care of business in, if this is a loss, probably of any kind in this series, they are going to be falling even further in the standings. But for now, they're still sort of a question mark. I'm very curious what's going to happen with this team.
Yeah, we said in the pre-show that they're moving. No matter what, next week they're going to be moving. If they take the win, like we said, our thoughts are going to be confirmed that they are a little bit better than they are rated right now. But if they lose, their scoreline is not great right now. So if they take that loss, they're definitely dropping.
Position number 8, Dynasty Chaos, moving up 1 spot to number 8 from number 9 last week with a clean 2-0 victory over the bad guys.
Yeah, Dynasty Chaos, another team we kind of still have questions about, right? Sitting in the 8th spot, but they started the season weird, right? They started with that 0-2, bye, whatever, forfeit, whatever you want to call it, because they joined a little bit late. So, taking this win, yes, it's nice, but bad guys, we talked about them. We have questions about bad guys. We don't actually know how good that team is. So, yes, they take down a previous top 5 team, but they get it done, right? They get it done. So, we'll see.
They took care of business, but they only sort of took care of business. I think, you can move up, no, we're just going to do that again. They take care of business, but not all the way convinced yet, right? They've only played a couple of games thus far. Still have a lot of questions about them. I think Elysium Valor just gets credit for the strength of the schedule they've played up to this point, and that's why they get the nod slightly over Dynasty Chaos, who are still stuck in number 8. We'll see if they can continue to match up in the jungle. They play OE Infinity next week. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. I think this is a team I'm just not completely sold on yet, right? I think 8 is a happy place for them. They move up 1 spot. They're not all the way at the bottom of the table here, but I need a little bit more data before I'm totally convinced that even with the actual record of 3-2, at this point, I don't think that they're up in that top half.
Yeah, I don't think either. I do also think Kobita has now got Tristana like an unreal amount of times. Both times in this game got the Tristana, which carried on at both times. So those top teams are definitely going to start to take notice, and I don't think Kobita's going to get the Tristana.
I would be surprised. Hey, you've played this champ to great success many, many times in the league. Let's just go ahead and ban that out, right? You could try something else. And comfort picks, getting on your main, the champions you like to carry with, really is valuable. And if those champs go away, you're stuck on something a little bit less carry-oriented. It can be a lot harder to win the game. You're less comfortable. So a lot of question marks for this team. We'll see how they do going forward. Ninth position, second to last, is always slept on with a 1-6 record. Down one spot this week after their 0-2 loss to OE Infinity.
Yeah, unfortunate that we have to get to the bottom of the table, but somebody has to be down here, and they had to run into another top team. Again, OE Infinity, a top 5 team, and they haven't really found a way to battle back yet, because jungle was so hard to deal with. We talked about that jungle can affect so much, and they just could not find a way to deal with it.
Dealing with the jungler is really, really key to competitive League of Legends, right? Tracking that enemy player, making sure you're not getting snowballed against, like we talked about, the Jarvan, Rek'Sai, champs like that. If you lose track of the jungler a couple times, an invade goes wrong, your top laner gets solo killed, something like that, you can just immediately find yourself very far behind. Felt like they just got a little bit outdrafted. Not inspired by this team up to this point. They play Niner Esports this upcoming week, which is never a good sign.
Yeah, and Niner Esports is going to outdraft you no matter what. And that's the thing. Like, their draft, it seemed good to them, right? In reality, you like comfort picks. Like, comfort picks are nice. It's what you're comfortable with. But sometimes comfort picks don't win you games, right? You pick the pick that makes you comfortable, and it looked like OE Infinity got the picks that they needed to win. And Niner Esports is going to do that exact same thing.
Yes, they absolutely are. Niner Esports, obviously a huge favorite going into this game this week. Always slept on. Going to need to make some changes if they want to try to make a playoff run. The bottom spot of the power rankings. Once again, it's Ban Out Bunny with their 0-2 loss, admittedly expectedly, to Niner Esports.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right, being down here, but no one has been able to take a game off Niner Esports. So this was expected because Niner Esports, they beat you in everything, right? They beat you in draft, lane, fights, literally everything. So it's hard to say anything good about the matchup when it was such a one-sided game. But there is still possibilities for them to move up. That's the good news, is what we always say. You got the game versus Niner Esports out of the way. Now you can look forward to the rest of your schedule.
They play Elysium Valor this week. That's a match that if this team wants to try to make a playoff run, they need to win at least one game in this series up against another team with a similar record. Obviously, we've said our piece about Elysium Valor, but this is a match Ban Out Bunny needs to be winning if they want to try to make some sort of run. For now, the only team that hasn't won a game, I think they do have to be in this 10th spot, but there are 5 weeks left in this season, so always time for anything, but right now looking like the bottom team in the league. I'm sorry, Bunny. I feel bad, but
yeah, I do too,
but you're not. It's just not working so far. All right. The biggest mover this week, again, not a whole lot of movement, but OE Infinity and OE Nova, and also Dynasty Chaos all moved up one spot.
They all take up one. Obviously, the bad guys was the biggest drop down. They're going to be dropping down 2. So a couple of slight movements. Like we said, next week we have a couple of top-heavy matchups, but there's also some matchups that could really shake up the table.
Absolutely. Like we said, Elysium Valor, they're moving either direction. So look out for that move. I'm excited for, some week, some big upset comes through and somebody's up 4 spots in the power rankings. I think that'll be fun. Thus far, it's been reasonably business as usual. Haven't been too many giant moves outside of the first week when we had a 7-point jump. I don't know if we'll be able to top that, but just a couple incremental moves this week. Llama, the week ahead, what players do you have your eyes on?
All right, well, the first player I got is Wild Cinderance from OE Nova. Now, this is obviously the mid laner that we talked about. The mid lane had a great performance in a couple of games and then a bad performance in the other, but it is a really power point for OE Nova, and it has really been the MO of Cinderance to just say, okay, I'm going to win my lane, I'm going to destroy you, and then I'm going to go other places. Orianna is such a nice champion to roam around, help out the other lanes, and get more leads than just that mid lane.
Absolutely. Another place we have our eyes is the bad guys, especially in the jungle with Super Swaggy. First of all, it's a fun name, but jungle matters so much, right? We say this over and over again. It is absolutely true. We talked about the Rek'Sai, the Jarvan earlier, these games where it's just totally jungle diff. The bad guys have been looking for these fight-engaged junglers in a lot of their drafts. This week they picked up the Poppy, and they also picked up the Lee Sin, who just got buffed, so that could also be a benefit. What we're really looking forward to is just, can they make comps that actually work around the jungle, right? It was a reasonably good performance by Super Swaggy over this week. It was 6-7 and 5-7, so a few deaths, but also a leader in kills throughout the week. They just need to make it a little bit more of a star of the matchup. Can Super Swaggy really take over a game thus far? And we haven't quite seen that yet, but looking forward to seeing if they can. Super Swaggy. What a guy.
Also, I put both the players I put for the player of the week are in matches of the week.
Well, that's okay. I think that makes sense. Super Swaggy did have the 0-12 bot lane, so
Yes.
that's sort of hard to carry.
Hard to deal with, yeah.
All right. Zooming out, as we always do, from players to matches for the upcoming week, what are we focusing on?
Yeah, the first one of the two is going to be Elysium Shield versus the Bad Guys. We literally just mentioned Super Swaggy, but, you know, Elysium Shield, okay, everyone's going to hate on us. They've gotten a match of the week every single week, but who can blame us, right? They're a really good team, and it's two teams that are still kind of wanting to prove themselves. That Elysium Shield is in that top 3, a little bit close game against that third team, but now they get a chance to prove it against a team that we talked about is looking for a game to prove themselves, right? The Bad Guys, now sitting at 4-3, really need to win this, but Elysium Shield, they need to get this win, or this next game might affect it.
Bad Guys need to right the ship. Elysium Shield, this is a match. You need to take care of business, right? They used to be in the top. Bad Guys fallen a little bit. You need to win this match to prove you belong at the top of the table, or you risk losing your spot to the victor of the other match we have our eyes on. That's OE Nova, the 4th place team, against Divine Temple, who we have as 3rd on the leaderboard. Divine Temple looking to prove themselves again as they continue to move up the leaderboard, potentially look for a jump into, 3rd, 2nd spot if they're clean, and Elysium Shield stumble a little bit, but OE Nova, a pretty dangerous foe, another team that's been on the rise, banking on the mid lane like we saw this week. We'll see how this matchup goes, but it is certainly going to be a banger.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Like we talked about, that player of Cinderance, the mid lane definitely been a strong point, and I think it's going to be an exciting one. That Divine Temple, if they take the win, maybe we put them 2nd, maybe, but OE Nova, they've been moving up every week, so would like to move up again if they could.
Cool. I feel good.
Yeah.
Anything else we're missing?
No, I think that's good.
Cool. All right, with that, everyone, that is it for the podcast this week. We hope you will tune into the stream on twitch.tv/Optimal Championship League and join us in the Discord as well for updates on the games, the results, and everything else. You can participate.
Make sure, I would say in the outro, tell them that Poro is taking a
true.
week break.
That's a great point. All right. That is all of the power ranking content that we have for this week. Poro Division is off for the 4th of July holiday since those games take place on Tuesday, which is the actual holiday. Premier will still be taking place this week, so we'll be back next week with a recap of Premier, but not Poro. There's just a 1-week pause on those games. But with that, that's all we have for you. Be sure to check out the stream at twitch.tv/Optimal Championship League to watch some of these games in action. You can point and laugh at us as our predictions go wrong. Otherwise, we'll be back next week with another look ahead. No, we don't want to say that. I already said that. All right, you can also join us in the Discord if you want to participate in the hashtag Lime Gang hashtag as well. That's always fun. Get something else going for us to talk about next week. And as we go, here are some highlights from this previous week's games so you can look with awe at the skill of our players. All right, maybe there's actually some highlights. Maybe there's not actually some highlights. I don't really know. All right, I guess we'll go back to the Discord thing. You can also join us on the Discord if you'd like to participate in some sort of citrus hashtag as well. Join in with the hashtag Lime Gang. Join in with some other hashtag. Get that trending, just so we have to talk about it on the podcast next week. Or you can just catch up on some results, some news, chat with the players, anything else in that Discord. It's a great space. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.